My name is Erica Wiener. From the time I was a little girl, I've always looked up to my aunt Lori Kaplan. She's a self-made businesswoman, visionary, and an all-around badass. She's compassionate, intelligent, and confident. In addition to all of that, she is living proof that self-determination and persistence will take you far in life. She never fails to inspire me to reach for the stars. She truly is my hero. So without further ado, this is the Lori Kaplan story.
My beginnings started in Brooklyn. I was born in the 50s, 1955. I'm a baby boomer and an old hippie chick. I had kind of a rough childhood. My dad died when I was 15 years old, and my mother was a narcissist and alcoholic. And after my dad died, my whole family life kind of fell apart. I didn't really have anybody guiding me or supporting me, so I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I dropped out of college in my second year because I had to help my mom support the family. So not having a college education, not really having any job skills, the best I could do was take crappy retail jobs. And I bounced around from one thing to another, encountered a lot of discrimination and male chauvinism along the way.
Lori began working at a hosiery shop in Midtown Manhattan called S&S under the supervision of a man named Joel. It was during her time at S&S when she discovered she had a knack for sales and a passion for helping others.
There was a guy who owned a business next to the place where I was working who saw me make a good sale to a customer, and he said, however much Charlie is paying you, I'll give you $50 a week more. So I naturally jumped. He had a schlocky lingerie store, hosiery store in Rockefeller Center area. We had to climb up a ladder through a hole in the ceiling to go to the bathroom. The air conditioning unit was stored up there, but there was also stored up there tons of hosiery that was left over from his parents who had a hosiery business on 33rd Street. Boxes of stockings that had hand painting and clocks and flocks. And I had an idea to take all these stockings and take them out of the boxes and get rid of all the crud, save the stockings that were beautiful. And at the time his parents bought them in the 1930s or 40s, they must have paid $1 a dozen for them. I decided that we were going to sell all those stockings at $15 a pair. I learned that I was a very good salesperson, and I could use my creativity. And I was pretty much managing the business all by myself. I was paying the bills, doing the buying, interacting with the clients, doing special orders for Broadway folks, and he stopped caring. And I wasn't really getting compensated fairly for the amount of work I was doing. And something exploded inside me. And I said, you know what, fuck this. I don't need this. I was already in my 40s, hadn't really gone anywhere, devoted most of my life to this guy, and I decided that I was going to start my own business. I had recently met the man that would become my husband and business partner, and I picked up the phone and told him what to do and who to call and what to order and how to have it shipped, and we got the goods for the customer and delivered the next day, and that was the first sale I made as bra tenders. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. I sat home and I cried. 22 years of my life, now what do I do? And then the phone called with somebody who said, do you remember me? I'm Bill Campbell. And I said, sure, I remember you. He said, I'm working on a little movie and I need some garter belts and bobby socks and white cotton panties and bullet bras. And I was just over to see Joel, and he told me he couldn't help. I said, what's the name of your movie? He said, A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe.
I bet you're very popular with the girls.
And then a few days later, the wardrobe supervisor from the producers, which was just loading into Broadway, called me with the same story. I was just to see Joel, and he can't help me. Can you help me? And then a few days later, somebody called and said, do you have G-strings and thongs for girls of color? I was just to see Joel, and he told me no such thing existed. Do you have a better answer? So in a very short period of time, we went from doing nothing to from 0 to 60 pretty much overnight. I had a vision of how I would do my own business while I was working for Joel. He would do anything to make a sale and really didn't have any respect for the customer. So I wanted my business to be all about the customer and customer service. And within 2 years, I had a very successful business. We moved into our first shop on 42nd Street and 9th Avenue in a 3-story walk-up building. And we spent a little while there and grew out of the space very shortly and started looking for a bigger space in 2002. And in 2003, we moved into the space we're at now.
Venturing into the next chapter of her life, Lori met a man named Alan. Alan became her husband as well as her business partner. In the beginning, their skills complemented each other well, but as time went on, Lori realized that being in business with her husband put a damper on her ability to fulfill her vision for bra tenders.
One of the big challenges was being married to my business partner, and we had very different ideas about how to run the business. I really couldn't fulfill my vision because as the man, he thought he knew better. And getting credit and setting up a business as a woman, back in the 90s was not such an easy thing to do. But if nothing, I'm persistent and tenacious. I had a lot of doubts about my abilities. Alan was the kind of guy that made me have a lot of doubts. He did some things that were kind of sabotaging. There's a Broadway costume designer named William Ivy Long, and at the time he had 6 musicals on Broadway, and musicals were our bread and butter. And he wanted us to do an on-site bra fitting for his very good friend Susan Stroman, who is the director of The Producers, amongst many others. We urged her to make an appointment and come and see me in the shop where I had everything. And she made a few appointments and canceled at the last minute a few times. And Alan decided to send Mr. William Ivy Long a check, an invoice, a bill for $1,500 for all the missed appointments, even though I begged him not to do that. Alan did it anyway, and we got a check in the mail for $1,500 that said final on it. And he had urged all the wardrobe supervisors that were working on his show to boycott us. One bad word from him could put our very young business out.
There is no question that Bra Tenders is a very successful business today, but I asked Lori if she would have done anything differently along the way.
I don't know what I would have done differently, except maybe not make my husband my business partner, because that continued to be a challenge, and we divorced last year, and I had to take a loan and buy him out of the business. It was always built on my contacts, my expertise. I can't say I would have done everything different. Everything kind of lined up, and I think it's because I had a very strong vision of what I wanted to do. I think as long as there's Broadway, film, and television, and as long as women have boobs, this will always be a good business to be in.
My aunt would not be where she is today if it weren't for her ambition. As far as what kind of advice she would give to young women today wanting to start a business of their own, this is what she had to say.
Do it. Just do it. Try to really see what you want, all the things that you're good at, the things that you like to do, because that's what's going to make anybody successful, is if you can marry what you're good at with what you love to do. You make mistakes, you might fall along the way, but keep getting back up and doing it. Ask for help when you need it. Don't think that you have to do it alone, but be persistent. You have to want it more than you're afraid of having it. Create something that's original and unique, but do something that you love.